Let's read a few text messages between two very special people dining with us tonight.
My phone buzzed at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday that started like any other. I was elbow deep in server maintenance at Midwest Logistics, trying to figure out why our inventory system kept crashing every time someone in accounting sneezed too hard. The text from Tara made me stop cold. "Hey babe, having so much fun with the girls, extending the trip another week. Don't miss me too much." I stared at the screen, that familiar knot forming in my stomach. The same knot I'd been ignoring for months whenever Tara mentioned her work emergencies that lasted until 2 a.m., or when she'd come home smelling like cologne that definitely wasn't mine. "Sure thing, honey," I typed back. "I won't." The thing about being an IT guy is that you notice patterns. Data doesn't lie. People do, but their digital footprints, those tell the real story. And Tara's story had been getting fishier than a week-old tuna sandwich. See, I'm Will Harris, 35 years old, and I fix computers for a living. Not exactly the kind of guy who gets the girl in movies, but somehow I'd managed to convince Tara Becker to say yes when I proposed 6 months ago. She worked in HR at Cleveland General Hospital, had a smile that could melt steel, and a laugh that made me forget I was just another blue-collar schlub from the East Side. At least, that's what I thought until recently. I called my buddy Pete during my break. Pete's an electrician, built like a linebacker, and drinks beer like it's going out of style. He's also the most loyal friend a guy could ask for. "Dude, you sound like someone ran over your dog," Pete said when he picked up. "Tara's extending her girls' trip another week." "Okay. And that's bad because?" "Because I called Jill yesterday to ask if she wanted me to water her plants while she was gone. She answered from her office, at the hospital, where she works, every day." Silence on Pete's end. Then, "Shit, Will. Yeah, shit." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. That evening, I sat in my living room. Our living room, I corrected myself bitterly, staring at Tara's half-packed suitcase that she'd shoved under our bed. The one I'd found yesterday while looking for my winter boots. The one with tags still on lingerie I'd never seen her wear. I opened my laptop. Time to do what I do best. Dig into the data. Tara's cloud backup was synced to our shared computer. She'd never changed the password, probably forgot I had access. Her photos from the last week showed a luxury resort in Cancun. But here's the thing about Tara. She was terrible at cropping photos. In 3 different shots I could see the edge of a man's arm, hairy, muscular, wearing a gold Rolex. I knew that watch. I'd seen it on Brad Fenton's wrist at the hospital Christmas party. Brad Fenton, pharmaceutical rep. 40 years old, drove a brand new Range Rover, and had the kind of fake smile that made me want to punch things. He'd spent that entire Christmas party talking about his performance metrics while flexing his gym-sculpted arms and making sure everyone noticed his expensive cologne. My phone rang. Emily, my younger sister. "Will, you sound weird. What's wrong?" Emily was sharp as a tack, worked as a paralegal downtown, and had never liked Tara. Said she was too polished for someone who claimed to be from a working-class family. "Tara's cheating on me." "With who?" "Brad Fenton, that pharma rep from her work. The one with the fake tan and the personality of a wet napkin?" "That's the one." "Will, I'm coming over. Don't do anything stupid until I get there." But I was already doing something stupid. I was scrolling through Tara's backed-up text messages, and what I found made my blood pressure spike to stroke levels. Months of messages, hundreds of them. Tara and Brad, planning their affair like a military operation. The nicknames made me sick. My Big Pharma and HR Hottie. The explicit photos, the detailed descriptions of what they were going to do to each other, and the worst part? The messages about me. Will's working late again. Perfect timing for you to come over. He's so clueless. Actually thanked me for working so hard last night. If he only knew what kind of work I was doing. Can't wait to ditch boring Will and upgrade to someone who actually knows how to treat a woman. I closed the laptop before I put my fist through the screen. Emily arrived 20 minutes later with a bottle of whiskey and a look that could kill. "Show me everything," she said. I spent the next morning at work in a fog, mechanically running diagnostics while my brain processed the betrayal. Every time my phone buzzed with another loving text from Tara, "Missing you so much," and "Can't wait to see you next week," I felt like throwing up. During lunch, I called the resort in Cancun. Sometimes the direct approach works best. "Hi, I'm trying to reach my wife, Tara Becker. She's staying at your resort this week. Let me check our guest registry. I'm sorry, sir, we don't have anyone by that name. How about Brad Fenton? Yes, Mr. Fenton is in our presidential suite. Would you like me to connect you?" I hung up. Presidential suite. On a pharmaceutical rep's salary? Either Brad was better at his job than I thought, or someone else was footing the bill. That afternoon, I did something I'd never done before. I left work early and drove to Brad's apartment complex. His Range Rover was parked in its usual spot, but something was different. There were scratches along the driver's side door. Fresh ones. I pulled out my phone and took pictures. Then I noticed something else. A parking ticket on his windshield, dated 3 days ago. The same day Tara's girls' trip started. My phone rang. Pete. "Will, you need to get down to Murphy's bar. Now." "Why?" "Just trust me, man. And bring your laptop." Murphy's was the kind of dive bar where electricians and mechanics went to complain about their bosses and watch sports on TVs that were older than some of the customers. Pete was waiting in a corner booth with 2 beers and a grim expression. "Sit down," he said. "I've got news, and you're not going to like it." He slid a manila envelope across the table. Inside were photos, grainy, taken from a distance, but clear enough. Brad and Tara at a fancy restaurant downtown, not just eating dinner, but all over each other like teenagers. "My cousin Danny works security at that place," Pete explained. "Recognized them from your description. This was taken last Thursday, the night Tara said she was working late on the quarterly reports." I stared at the photos. Tara was wearing the red dress I'd bought her for her birthday, the one she said was too fancy to wear anywhere. "There's more," Pete said. "Danny says they've been coming in every Thursday for the past 2 months. Always the same table, always the same routine. Brad pays cash, big tips, thinks he's some kind of high roller." I opened my laptop and showed Pete the text messages I'd found. His face went through several interesting color changes. "Jesus, Will. This is really bad." "It gets worse." I pulled up Tara's credit card statements, another thing she'd forgotten I had access to. "Look at these charges. Victoria's Secret, expensive restaurants, a spa day that cost more than my car payment. All on days when she claimed to be working overtime." Pete leaned back in his chair. "So, what are you going to do?" That was the million-dollar question. The old Will would have confronted her directly, probably would have ended up apologizing somehow for not being exciting enough to keep her interested. But the old Will hadn't seen those text messages calling him boring and clueless. "I'm going to make them famous," I said. Pete raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "I mean, if they want to have an affair, they can do it in front of the whole city." I spent the rest of the evening planning. The beauty of being an IT guy is that you understand how connected everything is these days. Restaurants have sound systems controlled by tablets. Social media algorithms love scandal, and people can't resist recording drama when it happens right in front of them. I started with the restaurant where Pete's cousin had photographed them. A quick search revealed they used a wireless sound system that connected to a central tablet, the same kind of system I'd installed for 3 other businesses in the city. Thursday night, I put on my best shirt and drove downtown. I'd made a reservation at the same restaurant where Brad and Tara had been having their secret dinners. Table 12, the one right next to their usual spot. They arrived at 8:30, right on schedule. Tara looked stunning in a black dress I'd never seen before. Brad wore a suit that probably cost more than I made in a month. They were laughing, holding hands, completely oblivious to everything around them. I waited until they ordered their entrees. Then I pulled out my phone and connected to the restaurant's sound system. "Ladies and gentlemen," my voice echoed through the dining room, "I'd like to share some text messages between two very special people who are dining with us tonight." The entire restaurant went quiet. Heads turned, phones came out. I started reading Tara's messages in my best dramatic voice. "Brad, baby, I can't wait to feel your hands on me tonight. Will thinks I'm working late on quarterly reports, but the only numbers I care about are yours, specifically the 8 inches you keep bragging about." Tara's face went white. Brad looked like he'd swallowed his tongue. I continued, "And here's Brad's response. HR hottie, your boring fiancé doesn't know what he's missing. After tonight, you'll forget that loser even exists." By now, every phone in the restaurant was recording. Tara was trying to hide behind her menu while Brad was frantically looking around for the source of the voice. "Oh, and here's my personal favorite," I said, making sure my voice carried to every corner of the room. Tara texted, "Will actually thanked me for working so hard last night. If only he knew the kind of workout I was really getting. Brad, you make me feel like a real woman, not like some boring housewife married to a computer nerd." Tara bolted for the bathroom. Brad stood up, his face red with rage and embarrassment, looking around wildly. I raised my hand and waved at him from table 12. "Hi, Brad. Will Harris. I believe you know my fiancé?" The restaurant erupted in whispers and barely contained laughter. Brad stormed over to my table, his hands clenched into fists. "You son of a bitch! You can't do this!" "Actually, I can," I said calmly, taking a sip of my wine. "These are text messages from my fiancé's phone, which is on our shared account. Technically, I'm just sharing family communications." "I'll sue you." "For what? Reading text messages that were sent to and from a device I pay for?" I smiled. "Good luck with that, counselor." By the time Tara emerged from the bathroom, the videos were already being uploaded to social media. She grabbed Brad's arm, and they rushed out of the restaurant, leaving behind a half-eaten meal and the shattered remains of their secret affair. I finished my dinner in peace, enjoying the best steak I'd had in years. By Friday morning, the restaurant incident had exploded across social media. Cheating Fiancé was trending on Twitter, and the video had been shared over 50,000 times on Facebook. The local news stations had picked it up as a human interest story, though they blurred out faces and used fake names. I didn't have to wait long for the fallout. My phone started ringing at 6 a.m. Tara calling from Cancun, her voice shaking with rage. "Will, what the hell did you do?" "I shared some interesting text messages with a few friends," I said, pouring my morning coffee. "How's the weather down there, by the way? You and the girls having fun?" "Don't you dare play games with me. Do you have any idea what you've done? Everyone at work has seen that video." "Gee, that's terrible. Maybe you shouldn't have written those messages in the first place." "I'm coming home right now, and we're going to talk about this." "Actually, I don't think we are," I said. "See, I've had some time to think about our relationship, and I've decided I don't want to marry someone who thinks I'm boring and clueless." Silence on her end. Then, "Will, please, let me explain. It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think. You've been screwing Brad Fenton for months, lying to my face, and spending money we don't have on your little affair. The only thing I got wrong was thinking you had enough respect for me to end our engagement before you started shopping for an upgrade." "Will," I hung up. Emily called 10 minutes later, laughing so hard she could barely speak. "Will, you magnificent bastard! Have you seen the comments on these videos? People are calling you a hero." She wasn't wrong. The comment section was brutal toward Tara and Brad, but surprisingly supportive of me. Apparently, A lot of people had been cheated on and lived vicariously through my very public revenge. But the real fun was just getting started. I'd spent Thursday night setting up fake social media accounts and doing some research on Brad's life. Turns out Mr. Big Shot pharmaceutical rep had a few secrets of his own. Like the fact that he was married. His wife, Linda Fenton, lived in a nice suburban house about 20 minutes away. According to her Facebook page, she thought her husband was at a medical conference in Chicago this week. I printed out screenshots of all the text messages between Brad and Tara, along with the photos from the restaurant, and mailed them to Linda's address with a note. Thought you should know what kind of conference your husband is really attending. I also did some digging into Brad's work situation. Pharmaceutical reps make decent money, but not presidential suite in Cancun money. A little more investigation revealed that Brad had been padding his expense reports, claiming fake client dinners and inflated travel costs. I compiled all the evidence and sent it anonymously to his company's compliance department. By Friday afternoon, Brad's life was falling apart faster than a house of cards in a hurricane. His wife had changed the locks on their house and posted her own Facebook status. Just learned my husband of 12 years has been cheating with some hospital slut. Any divorce lawyers want to help a sister out? His company had suspended him pending an investigation into his expense reports, and the videos from the restaurant were still spreading across the internet like wildfire. But Tara wasn't done fighting. She came home Friday night, bursting through the front door like an avenging angel. Her face was red from sun and fury, her hair disheveled from the long flight. "Will, we need to talk right now." I was sitting on the couch, watching Netflix and eating pizza. I didn't look up. "Hey, honey, how was your girls' trip? Did you and Jill and the gang have fun at that spa in Cleveland while you were actually in Cancun with your boyfriend? Don't be a smartass. You've humiliated me in front of the entire city." "I humiliated you?" I finally looked at her. I'm not the one who was sending naked pictures to a married man while planning my wedding. It wasn't like that. Really? Because I've got about 300 text messages that say otherwise. Tara sat down on the coffee table in front of me, her eyes filling with tears. Here came the performance I'd been expecting. "Will, please. I made a mistake, a huge mistake, but I love you. I want to marry you. We can work through this." "No, we can't." "Why not? People get past infidelity all the time." I pulled out my phone and opened her text messages. "Let me read you something, Tara. This is from 3 weeks ago. Brad, I can't wait to dump Will after the wedding. Once I get half his stuff and alimony, we can be together for real. He's so pathetic. He'll probably pay me just to go away quietly." Her face went white. "So no, sweetheart. We're not working through anything. You were planning to marry me, take half my assets, and then leave me for your boyfriend. The only thing you're sorry about is getting caught." Tara's tears dried up fast. Her voice turned cold and calculating. The real Tara, the one I'd been too blind to see before. "Fine. You want to play hardball? I'll take you for everything you're worth in court. Emotional distress, public humiliation, defamation of character. My lawyer is going to eat you alive." I smiled. "Your lawyer? You mean the guy who handles traffic tickets and small claims cases? Good luck with that." "I'm serious, Will." "So am I. See, while you were in Cancun playing house with Brad, I was talking to my sister Emily. You remember Emily, right? The paralegal who works for Morrison, Klein & Associates, one of the best family law firms in the state." Tara's confident expression started to waver. "Turns out, Ohio is a fault-based divorce state. That means adultery affects the division of assets, especially when there's documented evidence of the cheating spouse planning to defraud their partner." I stood up and walked to the kitchen, grabbing a beer from the fridge. "Oh, and here's the best part. All those expensive dinners, the lingerie, the spa days, you paid for them with our joint credit card. That's called dissipation of marital assets. The court doesn't like it when one spouse spends joint money on their affair." Tara followed me to the kitchen, her voice rising to a shriek. "You can't prove any of that." I held up my phone. 300 text messages, credit card statements, photos, and video evidence say otherwise. Plus, I've got witness statements from Pete's cousin at the restaurant and about 50,000 people who watched you and Brad make out on social media. I'll claim the texts were fake, photoshopped. With what money? You just got suspended from your job pending an HR investigation. Apparently, dating pharmaceutical reps while working in hospital administration is a conflict of interest. Who knew? The fight went out of her like air from a punctured balloon. She sank into one of our kitchen chairs, finally understanding the scope of her situation. Will, please, I'm begging you, don't destroy me over this. I'm not destroying you, Tara. You destroyed yourself. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it. The weekend brought a new wave of chaos. Word had spread through our social circle faster than gossip at a church potluck. By Saturday morning, I was getting calls and texts from people I hadn't heard from in months. Some were supportive, others weren't. The first call came from Marcus, a guy I'd known since college. We'd been in each other's weddings, spent countless weekends watching football and grilling burgers. His wife Jennifer and Tara were close friends. Will, man, I heard what happened. This is really messed up. Tell me about it, I said, thinking he was offering support. I mean, what you did to Tara was messed up. Humiliating her in public like that? That's not cool, dude. I stopped stirring my coffee. Excuse me? Look, I get that you're hurt. Tara made a mistake, but airing your dirty laundry in public, making her a laughingstock on the internet, that's going too far. She's been cheating on me for months, Marcus. She was planning to take half my stuff and leave me after the wedding. That's between you and her. You didn't have to destroy her reputation over it. I felt my temper rising. Her reputation? What about my reputation? What about the fact that half the city thinks I'm some clueless idiot who can't keep his woman happy? Come on, Will. You're being dramatic. Am I? Did you see those text messages, Marcus? The ones where she called me pathetic and boring? Where she laughed about lying to my face? Relationships are complicated, man. Maybe if you'd paid more attention to her needs. I hung up on him. The next call was from David, another old friend. Same story, different voice. Will, Jennifer talked to Tara last night. She's devastated, man. She made a mistake, but she loves you. Can't you find it in your heart to forgive her? Would you forgive Jennifer if she cheated on you for months and planned to rob you blind? That's different. Jennifer would never. Tara would never either, right? That's what I thought too. But David wasn't listening. None of them were. They'd already decided I was the villain in this story. The mean, vindictive ex-fiancé who couldn't handle his woman stepping out on him. By Sunday, the battle lines were drawn. Our friend group had split into two camps, Team Tara and Team Will. Unfortunately, Team Tara was winning the numbers game. Marcus, David, Jennifer, and most of their wives had rallied around Tara. They saw her as the victim of my cruel revenge plot. Never mind that she'd been planning to commit fraud. Never mind the months of lies and betrayal. The final straw came Sunday evening when they all showed up at my house for an intervention. I was in my garage, working on my motorcycle, when I heard car doors slamming in my driveway. Through the window, I saw Marcus, David, Jennifer, and 3 other couples from our old group walking toward my front door. I met them on the porch before they could ring the bell. Will, Marcus said, trying to sound reasonable. We need to talk. About what? About what you did to Tara. This has gone too far, man. She's getting death threats on social media. People are calling her work, her family. You've ruined her life over a relationship problem that should have been handled privately. I looked around at the group of people I'd once considered my closest friends. People I'd helped move, lent money to, celebrated birthdays and holidays with. A relationship problem? I said quietly. Is that what we're calling fraud and adultery now? Jennifer stepped forward, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. Will, honey, I know you're hurt, but what Tara did, it wasn't personal. She was just confused, looking for something that was missing in your relationship. Not personal? My voice was getting louder. She was planning to marry me and then divorce me to steal my money. How is that not personal? You're exaggerating, David said. Those text messages were taken out of context. Really? Which context makes "I can't wait to dump Will and take half his stuff" sound okay? Look, Marcus said, we're not saying what Tara did was right. But your response was way over the line. A real man would have handled this with dignity. That did it. 20 years of friendship evaporated in an instant. A real man? I stepped closer to Marcus. A real man would have just taken it, smiled and said, "Thanks for the memories," while his fiancée ran off with her boyfriend and half his assets. A real man would have had enough self-respect not to air his personal business in public, Jennifer shot back. You know what? You're right. I smiled coldly. A real man would have handled this differently. A real man would have trusted his friends to have his back when his world fell apart. A real man would have expected the people who claimed to love him to be outraged on his behalf when he was betrayed and humiliated. I looked around the group, meeting each of their eyes. But apparently, I'm not dealing with real friends. I'm dealing with people who think I should have just shut up and taken my punishment like a good little victim. Will, Marcus started. Get off my property, I said quietly. Come on, don't be like this. Get off my property, I roared. They left, muttering among themselves about how I'd changed and how Tara was better off without me. I stood on my porch, watching their taillights disappear, and realized I felt lighter than I had in months. These people weren't my friends. Real friends don't blame the victim. Real friends don't make excuses for cheaters and liars. Real friends have your back when the world turns against you. I pulled out my phone and called Pete. Hey man, you busy? I could use a beer and some friendly conversation. Already on my way, he said. Emily called me. She heard about the ambush at your house. How did she? Jennifer posted about it on Facebook, called you unstable and said your friends were concerned for your mental health. I laughed bitterly. Of course she did. Don't worry about it, Will. Emily's already responding. And brother, you do not want to get into a social media fight with a paralegal who's had 3 glasses of wine. 20 minutes later, Pete showed up with a 12-pack, and Emily arrived with printouts of Jennifer's Facebook posts and her own brutal responses. Look at this, Emily said, spreading the papers on my kitchen table. Jennifer writes, concerned about Will's mental state. His reaction to relationship problems shows serious anger management issues. And here's my response, she continued with a wicked grin. Concerned about Jennifer's moral compass? Her defense of adultery and fraud shows serious character issues. Maybe she should worry less about Will's mental health and more about whether her own husband is getting text messages from pharmaceutical reps. Pete nearly choked on his beer. Emily, you didn't. Oh, I did. And it gets better. David tried to defend Jennifer, so I posted screenshots of Tara's text messages about planning to commit fraud. Turns out, publicly defending someone who was planning to steal marital assets isn't a good look. I hugged my sister. Remind me never to get on your bad side. Too late for that, she said. I'm already planning phase 2 of your revenge campaign. There's a phase 2? Emily's smile was absolutely terrifying. Oh, Will, we're just getting started. Monday morning brought news that made my coffee taste like victory. Brad had been fired. Emily called me at work, barely able to contain her excitement. Will, you're not going to believe this. Brad's company didn't just fire him, they're pressing criminal charges for expense account fraud. Seriously? Seriously. Apparently, your anonymous tip led to a full audit. He's been stealing from them for over 2 years. We're talking federal wire fraud charges, Will. He could go to prison. I leaned back in my chair, feeling a satisfaction deeper than anything I'd experienced in months. What about his wife? Linda? She's already filed for divorce and a restraining order. Turns out Brad got violent when she confronted him about the affair. She's taking him for everything: the house, the cars, his pension, even his precious Rolex. But the best news was yet to come. And Tara? Emily continued. She's been fired too. Hospital administration decided that her relationship with Brad was a conflict of interest, especially since she was involved in approving pharmaceutical contracts. They're reviewing every deal she signed off on for the past year. I felt like I should be happy, but mostly I just felt tired. The anger that had sustained me through the past week was fading, replaced by something that felt like closure. Emily, I think I'm done. They're both ruined. Their lives are destroyed. Maybe it's time to move on. Oh no, big brother. You don't get to go soft now, not when we're this close to the grand finale. What grand finale? Tonight, Murphy's Bar. Pete's organizing a Will Harris appreciation night. Half the neighborhood is coming. It's going to be epic. Emily, I don't want... Too late. It's already planned. And guess who's planning to crash the party? I sighed. Tara and Brad. Bingo. Jennifer posted on Facebook about how they're going to confront Will about his harassment campaign in front of all his friends. She's calling it an intervention to stop his obsessive behavior. Great. So now I'm obsessive. Will, listen to me. These people have been spreading lies about you all week. They've been telling everyone that you're unstable, that you're stalking Tara, that you're some kind of psycho who can't handle rejection. She was right. All week, I'd been getting weird looks from neighbors and coworkers. People who'd heard Jennifer's version of events, the version where I was the villain and Tara was the victim. It's time to set the record straight, Emily continued, and I've got a plan that's going to shut them up permanently. That evening, Murphy's Bar was packed. Pete had outdone himself. There were balloons, a banner that read, "Congratulations on your freedom, Will," and enough beer to float a battleship. The crowd was an interesting mix. My real friends, Pete, Emily, a bunch of guys from work, some neighbors who'd known me for years, but also some curiosity seekers who'd seen the viral videos and wanted to meet the guy who'd become a local legend. I was actually starting to enjoy myself when they walked in. Tara entered first, wearing a conservative black dress and the kind of wounded expression that had fooled me for months. Behind her came Brad, or what was left of him. The cocky pharmaceutical rep was gone, replaced by a broken man in an ill-fitting suit who looked like he hadn't slept in days. And behind them, like some kind of moral support squad, came Marcus, David, Jennifer, and the rest of my former friends. The bar went quiet. Every conversation stopped. Even the jukebox seemed to pause between songs. Tara walked straight up to me, her chin raised defiantly. Will, this has to stop. The harassment, the lies, the public humiliation. I made a mistake, but what you're doing is cruel and vindictive. I looked around the bar. Every eye was on us. Phones were coming out, ready to record whatever happened next. Harassment? I said calmly. What harassment? You know what you did. You've destroyed my career, my reputation, my entire life. I shared some text messages. Your text messages, the ones where you called me pathetic and planned to steal my money. Those were private. Actually, they weren't. Emily stepped up beside me, holding a folder full of papers. See, when you send text messages using a phone that's on someone else's account, those messages belong to the account holder. Legally speaking, Will had every right to share them. Jennifer pushed forward. That's a technicality. What Will did was morally wrong, regardless of the legalities. Morally wrong? Pete's voice boomed from behind the bar. You want to talk about morally wrong? How about cheating on your fiancée for months? How about planning to commit fraud? How about lying to everyone who cared about you? Tara made a mistake, Marcus shouted. She doesn't deserve to have her life destroyed over it. That's when I lost it. All the anger, all the hurt, all the betrayal came pouring out. A mistake? I roared, standing up so fast my chair fell over. She didn't accidentally trip and fall on Brad's dick. She planned this for months. She called me boring and pathetic and clueless while she was planning to marry me and steal half my assets. The bar erupted in murmurs. People who'd only heard Jennifer's version of events were seeing the truth for the first time. "You want to know what's morally wrong?" I continued, my voice carrying to every corner of the room. "What's morally wrong is a group of people who claim to be my friends, taking the side of someone who was planning to commit fraud against me." I turned to face Marcus directly. "What's morally wrong is you calling me vindictive for defending myself while making excuses for someone who was planning to rob me blind." "Will," Marcus started. "I'm not finished," I shouted. "What's morally wrong is all of you deciding that I should have just taken my punishment quietly, that I should have smiled and said, 'Thanks for the memories,' while my fiancée ran off with her boyfriend and my money." I looked around the room, making eye contact with as many people as possible. "You want to know what really happened here? I trusted someone I loved. I was planning to spend my life with her, and she repaid that trust by lying to my face for months while planning to destroy me financially." Tara was crying now, but I wasn't done. "And when I discovered that the woman I loved thought I was pathetic and boring and deserved to be cheated on, I decided that if she wanted to humiliate me, I'd return the favor." I picked up my beer and took a long drink, letting the silence stretch. "So, yeah, I shared her text messages. I made sure everyone knew what kind of person she really was. And you know what? I'm not sorry. Not even a little bit." Brad finally found his voice. "You ruined my marriage, my career, my entire life." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I ruined your life? You ruined your own life when you decided to cheat on your wife and steal from your company? I just made sure people knew about it." "You had no right." "I had every right." I stepped closer to Brad, and he actually flinched. "You were screwing my fiancée and helping her plan to commit fraud against me. You think I was just going to let that slide?" Emily stepped forward with her folder. "Since we're all here, let me share some interesting facts with everyone." She opened the folder and pulled out a stack of papers. Fact 1. Tara and Brad had been planning their affair for over 6 months. They had detailed discussions about the best time to leave their respective partners. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Fact 2. Tara was planning to marry Will, then immediately file for divorce and claim half his assets, including his house, his retirement account, and his business equipment. The murmurs got louder. Fact 3. Brad was stealing money from his company to fund his affair with Tara. The expensive dinners, the luxury resort, even the lingerie, all paid for with stolen money. Now people were getting angry. Not at me, at Tara and Brad. And fact 4. When Will discovered the affair, this group of people, she gestured at Marcus and his crew, decided that he was the problem. They blamed him for not being exciting enough to keep his woman happy. They said he should handle his relationship problems privately and with dignity. Emily's voice dripped with contempt. They wanted him to shut up and take his punishment like a good little victim. The mood in the room had shifted completely. People were looking at Tara and Brad with disgust, and at Marcus and Jennifer with something close to hatred. Pete climbed onto the bar. "I've got something to say." The room went quiet again. "I've known Will Harris for 15 years. He's the most loyal, honest, hardworking guy I've ever met. When my dad was in the hospital, Will took vacation days to help me with his electrical business. When my marriage was falling apart, Will let me sleep on his couch for 3 months and never complained once." He pointed at Tara. "This woman took advantage of that loyalty. She lied to him, cheated on him, and planned to steal from him. And when he fought back, these people," he gestured at Marcus and his group, "told him he was wrong for defending himself." The crowd was getting restless. Someone in the back shouted, "Throw them out." But I held up my hand. "No, let them stay. Let them see what real friends look like." I climbed onto a chair so everyone could see me. "I want to thank everyone who's here tonight. Not just for the party, but for having my back when I needed it most. For understanding that sometimes when someone tries to destroy you, you have to fight back. The crowd cheered. I want to thank Pete for being the kind of friend who brings beer and loyalty in equal measure. More cheers. I want to thank Emily for being the sister who knows how to use legal documents as weapons. Laughter and applause. And I want to thank all of you for showing me what real friendship looks like, for proving that good people still exist in this world. The cheering was deafening now. I looked down at Tara, who was still crying, and Brad, who looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. As for you two, you're done. Your lives are ruined because of the choices you made, not because of anything I did, but because you chose to be terrible people. I turned to Marcus and his group. And as for you, you chose your side. You chose to defend cheaters and liars over someone you claim to care about. You chose to blame the victim instead of the victimizers. Live with that choice. I raised my beer. To real friends, to loyalty, and to the beautiful truth that sometimes, just sometimes, the good guys win. The bar erupted in cheers. People were clapping, shouting, toasting. It was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. Tara, Brad, and their supporters slunk out of the bar like the cowards they were. I never saw any of them again. The party went on until closing time. I got drunk on beer and friendship and the sweet taste of justice served cold. 6 months later, I got a text from an unknown number. It was from Linda Fenton, Brad's ex-wife. Will, I wanted to thank you. The evidence you provided helped me get everything in the divorce. Brad is living in a studio apartment and working at a call center. He lost everything, just like he deserved. I heard Tara is working at a retail store in another state. Thought you'd like to know that justice was served. Thanks for having the courage to fight back. I smiled and deleted the message. I was too busy living my new life to waste time thinking about my old enemies. Sometimes the good guys really do win. Sometimes standing up for yourself is exactly the right thing to do, and sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be a victim. I learned that the hard way, but I learned it well.